Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Brass Junkies. I am your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by Lance LaDuke today for a change. Lance, how are you?
I'm invigorated.
Why?
Well, I'm done with the majority. Actually, I know you don't really care, but I'm going to give you an answer anyway. I'm done with my gigs for the summer. Like, I've got a couple family obligations, but by and large, it's hanging out on the back porch with family and Pooch. And I'm doing this 50-day, like, not cleanse exactly, but like I'm going to try and get my health as I'm an old man now. So I'm trying to get a running start at the fall semester. So I'm doing this 50-day ridiculousness. I did 200. I got this 35-pound kettlebell that I did 250 kettlebell swings today, and trying to walk 10,000 steps and just sort of stay on the planet as long as I can. So I'm invigorated because of just. I'm super excited because at the end of next week I get a colonoscopy, and that's going to be fun. Maybe we should audio tape some of that. That would be good for the Patreon patrons coming out the other side of the.
If we want to, if we're looking to weed out our Patreon patrons, it's like we'd like to be making less money through Patreon. So,
Did you see Jimmy Kimmel went? Katie Couric took him, and it's really hilarious. It's on YouTube. It's important, people. Colon health is important.
It is. I believe that Katie Couric lost her husband a long time ago to colon cancer.
A big thing. So that's why she got all of the Jimmy Kimmel thing, and now it's like an annual. It's Tom Hanks and Steve Martin and Martin Short and some other dude all go get colonoscopies together every year, and they they have this party. And it's a tradition now. And Jimmy Kimmel asked if he could go with, and Steve Martin was like, "No." That was like the end of this thing. So
I like it.
All health all the time. We'll see what happens. I'm hoping to be able to do the Brass Junkies for the next 50 years. And so I'm trying to be as healthy as I can for you, Andrew. Awesome listeners. And you, Will Houchin, especially.
That's another.
And Parker.
And Parker. That's another 1,000 interviews, man. Yeah,
no problem.
We'll get to everybody by that point.
That's right.
So
I remember episode number.
See, I ended the episode that you're about to hear falling asleep.
Today we're interviewing Jimmy. Jimmy has seen the Boston Symphony perform 5 times. So, Jimmy, how are you?
Why am I here?
Oh, man. Not only is my summer not done, but I didn't really put these dots this close together, but I have actually, as we're sitting here recording this, I have a recital in 2.5 weeks, and I haven't quite figured out what I'm playing yet. So
that was me last summer. I was still sweating it. Now I'm happy.
That's pretty funny. I should probably figure that out. So, you got
whatever. 13 days.
It's tuba. How hard could it possibly be? So, anyway, we need to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting. Oh, we haven't even said who we're interviewing yet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's amazing. Raquel Rodriquez. Yeah. So she's great. She's really great. And I think you're going to love this. She and Lance really get into it at one point. I won't spoil it. So, but really great. And some interesting stuff also for our bonus content, which the bonus episode, which comes out every other week. So the week after each interview, we do a little bit more with each guest, and that is available to all of our Patreon patrons. If you go to patreon.com/thebrassjunkies, for as little as $1 per episode, you can access all of the past bonus episodes with a long list of people talking about funny stuff. So, and we also need to thank Parker Mouthpieces for providing the hosting for the Brass Junkies. Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, and tuba, including the Andrew Hitz Artist Model Tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke Model Euphonium mouthpiece. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com, or you can follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can also send them an email through parkermouthpieces.com. Lance, what should we have everyone email Michael this week?
Valve trombone. Valve trombone mouthpieces, and if so, do they have valves on the mouthpiece so that it would be a double valve mouthpiece for the valve trombone?
That everyone please email Michael Parker and ask if he has any valve trombone mouthpieces. That would make us happy. So, all right, why don't you thank the Papert people?
Papert people. Thank you very much to the Duquesne University School of Music, the Mary Papert School of Music. They are sponsors of this show. Thanks to the efforts of Jim Boom Nova. I should give him a theme song instead. So Jim is the head of the brass area at the Mary Papert School of Music, and there's a webpage devoted to the goings on going on at Duquesne. So if you click on the link, it will take you right there, and you'll see the playing opportunities, the brass faculty, and all the goings on that are going there. So thanks once again to Jim Nova for making that happen.
Wow. Man, we need to charge him more for these ads if he's going to get a theme song. I mean, you're like composing to spec at this point. That's yeah. Oh, geez. And now the ukulele has made an appearance. Oh, Lord. Yep. All right. So also, thank you to everyone who's gone to iTunes. It's kind of a big favor to ask for everybody to go to iTunes and leave a rating or review. It's a 5-minute favor, but if you're like me, you never listen to a podcast like at your desktop or laptop. It's usually on the go, and so to remember it later anyway. We're up to 113 ratings, which is awesome. 112 5-star ratings, and thank you to whoever left the 4-star rating. But that is good.
Oh, whoops. Sorry.
Thanks, Lance. So our most recent, and I actually don't even remember this, but I need to go and listen to it now. Our most recent review, which is 5 stars, and the title is Jeff Strong, episode 88. This is from Lee Bone 78, and it says, "Go to 103.50 to hear Andrew almost lose it." So I like that there's a timestamp. Oh yeah, go to hear Andrew almost lose it. So funny. You guys rock. 3 exclamation points. Love the Gould episode. So that's good. So thank you very much to everybody who's left a rating and a review. That helps the algorithm juju. That's what helps people find the podcast through their favorite app, etc. So we very much appreciate that. And also, before I forget here, very quickly, we have got, when this goes live, there is going to be 1 week, I believe. The application deadline to become the next Pedal Note Media intern is August 1st. And you can go to pedalnotemedia.com/intern if you would like to learn more about the position. And there's actually, there's a quote up there. One of our former interns is now a famous brass player. I'm not going to spoil it and tell you who it is, so you can go.
Joey,
and he said incredibly nice things about what being the intern here at Pedal Note Media got him. So you can learn all about that, and then you can send us a resume and a brief blurb on why you should be the next person to help us out here. So
kissing up is always welcome too.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah, that is true. So, but the application deadline is August 1st, and I think we do some pretty cool stuff for our interns. So, but you'll learn more about that if you shoot us an email about that. So, without further ado, is it time to get to our conversation with Rachel?
It is.
So let's get to our conversation with Raquel Rodriquez. today on the podcast, we are joined by a trumpet player. Aren't we lucky, Lance? We love talking to trumpet players. Actually, I can't stand trumpet players like today's guests because she doesn't fit the narrative. I like to just kind of claim either outright or just imply that you're all kind of a pain in the ass, and you know, it's well, not really, but then there are people who are at the absolute top of the profession and are humble and personable, and it just doesn't fit my narrative. So I try to spend as little time with you people as possible. So, but I've said too much. So today's guest is Raquel Rodriquez. How are you, Rachel?
I'm doing well. And I do have to say, if it wasn't for us trumpet players in a quintet, who
else
would
trumpet players have
to blame intonation? It's always our fault. Trumpeters, it's always the intonation fault. It's always the trumpet. We're always sharp. Got it.
I like the coming out guns a-blazing. I got to hand it to you. Fair enough.
I am, Lance, we talk about how we never listen to the actual episodes because we already experienced them. Mm-hmm. Right as you said blah blah blah, and then I heard her start to talk louder than you, which is awesome, by the way. That's exactly how you should be handling things. No, I pulled the cord out of my headphones in that very moment, so I had to take them off and plug them back in, and then all I heard was "We're always sharp," and then that's it. So I'm actually going to have to listen back to hear her put you in your place. So yeah, so there you go. So how are you, Rachel?
I'm doing very well. How are you guys?
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
It's mid-June. It's July. Wow. Never mind. I don't know what happened to June.
Do you want a second to look at your calendar to see how many gigs you've missed in the last few weeks? Yeah, if you think it's mid-June, since it's almost double digits into July. But anyway.
I just got back from vacation, actually, from the beach in Florida, and I have not ever burned my lips this badly as this year. So I'm taking a few days off to recover on that, and.
Okay, so what?
I know you two players.
Well, let's stay there. So, what would you? How are you going to? You're just going to like chill out, or are you going to apply any particular ointment or cream or salve?
Oh yeah, I do Chop Saver. I do Aquaphor, and pretty much drink a lot of water, like it's my job, and pretty much just rest it. I tried playing last night, and it was just horrid. So. I think the best thing for me to do right now is just take a few days off, and which reminds me, should I talk about Jens Ledman's chops right now, or
no?
We work up to. We always do that at the end of the episode. I always make sure that it's a super awkward segue. So
I get that it's on everybody's mind right now. It's like a thing we're focused and fixated on. I understand that like you're dying to help him.
But Prime Minister Trudeau declared it a Canadian national emergency. But we still there's an order to things here, Rachel.
I apologize for that. I jumped the gun.
Yeah, just relax.
Trump wants to build a wall around Jens.
So you told us that there is a story to why you go by the wrong name. So what is the story?
Yes, I have to tell the story a lot actually, but here it is. So growing up, Spanish was my first language. And I learned English in kindergarten. And I learned all the anglicized words for all the Spanish words I already knew. And my teacher, Mrs. Hogan, my kindergarten teacher, she called me Rachel. And I just assumed that was the anglicized way to say Raquel.
No kidding.
It was not. I don't know if she misspelled it, misread it, or just preferred Rachel. I don't know. But by the time my mother caught on, I was in second grade, fully ingrained as Rachel. And my mother fought it. She was very upset. She was like, "It's not your name." But she finally relented after a few years. And so I go by Rachel. And I've tried changing the spelling. It just never looked right to me, the CH. And when I first started college, I thought about, well, I'll just go to Raquel. This is crazy. Might as well give it a shot. Nobody knows me. And it just didn't stick either. I just didn't feel Raquel. I mean, by the time you're 18, Raquel, I mean, your name's your name. So I couldn't change. I couldn't change names. So, so I have to always explain that, yes, it's spelled Raquel, but I go by Rachel. So there it is.
What was your teacher's name?
Mrs. Hogan.
Mrs. Hogan. I'm putting her in the show notes.
No idea where she's at. This is Kermit, Texas, back in the, I don't know, 80s.
So whereabouts in Texas is that?
West Texas, near Odessa, Midland, which is oil country. So OIL. I think I say it differently. We say it oil instead of oil. So, in case you're wondering what I was saying, oil country.
And
this has become one of the more peculiar episodes ever.
Yeah, there you go.
How wandery it's gone. That's good.
There we.
You
use valve.
I do. I use valve. See,
what kind of valve
too.
do you use?
Hetman's, actually, but
Hetman's oil.
Hetman's oil.
You don't use that Alcast Rocket Fast from Milford, Mass?
I will in a pinch if I have to.
So when did you take up the trumpet? And did Mrs. Hogan have anything to do with it?
She did not. She was long gone by the.
When she got to kindergarten, she played clarinet. And Mrs. Hogan was like, "Not anymore. No, now you play trumpet."
This is how we pronounce clarinet.
She was a very nice lady. I'm not sure why she did that. She changed my life, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, we're talking about her now.
Yes, we are.
You mean in other ways or that way?
What?
She changed your life.
Oh, she changed my life as in regards to my name. I mean, that's kind of a big thing.
That's a big one. Well, I didn't know if she told you the secret of life.
No, she did not.
It would be sweet if they told every kindergartner the secret of life and then they beat it out of them for the next 12 years so they don't believe it, but actually all along you had the secret.
Well, she was actually a sweet old lady, and I always thought maybe she just misread it. So it must have been just an accident.
She's one of our Patreon patrons. I feel bad for making fun of her now. Sorry, Mrs. Hogan.
The second half of the bonus episode is just going to be Lance and I trashing Mrs. Hogan. Yeah, we're just going to be completely. Bless her heart.
All right, right this ship. Come on, Andrew. Ask a cogent question.
So what kind of mouthpiece do you play? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So how did you start playing the trumpet?
Well, like any kid in Texas, we started middle school or junior high, beginner band, and then in high school band. And I started beginner band, but I wasn't in band in 8th grade. And I don't remember why I decided to come back into probably the marching band in 9th grade when I got into high school. And all of a sudden, it just kind of clicked for me. Everything was, I think for me, everybody has that moment, that spark. And for me, it was as a freshman in high school, getting to play a little solo in the marching band show in Kermit, Texas, and then getting, the limelight for that brief 3-minute or actually 30 seconds, however long it was. It just kind of, at that point, I was stuck. It was just something that was really cool. I wanted to keep doing it and started taking lessons my sophomore year, and I've never looked back after that.
Were you in one of those schools that had one of these mega band programs and everybody was taking lessons and it was just sort of this wonderful machine that like cranked out a bajillion musicians?
Unfortunately, I wasn't. I was that kind of the small band. I was like the odd person that was just really into it and excelling and doing well.
Did you have the notion to take lessons, or did your teacher see something and saw the fire lit and then they said, "Hey, why don't you take lessons"?
It was my band director. He's the one that provided the opportunity. He actually would drive me to the next town over called Monahans, Texas. And I would take lessons from David Fortenberry was his name. And he's the first person that introduced me to the R-bend, got me in it, practicing from it. And I just started liking to, I think for me, I liked to practice when I was in high school, which was odd for my parents and my friends as well, that I would just want to practice, all day. And so, but being from a small town, it really, it gave me the opportunity, to go to college. A lot of my friends didn't go to college. We're talking the 90s. And so it's kind of, my ticket, I guess you could say. It's just something that I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, for instance. And I attribute all that to music. So,
wow, same story. I did the exact same thing, but awesome. Further north. That's amazing. That's really, really. It's Andrew and I ended up talking about Andrew's band teacher on the last episode, who's just recently passed, and the spark that music educators ignite. Well, you had the spark, and that you had a music educator who was dialed in enough to see that, and then get that kindling going, and really stoke the flames is a testament to.
That's exactly what happened.
That's
so
awesome.
Your band director drove you to your lessons.
Yeah, they had this deal where I had two band directors, the junior high and then the high school, and the junior high band director agreed to give oboe lessons to someone from Monahan's band, and then they would give me lessons for free as well. And yes, he would drive me. It was only 15 miles, but I couldn't.
It's a lot easier to not drive you. Yeah,
exactly.
Wow, and to not teach the oboe lessons, and wow, that's amazing. Pretty much just about everybody I know in the music business who has quote unquote made it, whatever the hell that means, that we talk to, there are people like that in all of our paths. I mean, in every single one of ours. That's incredible that you're getting rides from your band director,
right?
And then all of a sudden, that you are, you catch fire and you're like enjoying practicing. And I bet a large part of that might be because it was special for you, right? It wasn't something that you started doing when you were 3.
And also on these drives, these relatively short drives, were the first places I was exposed to the Canadian Brass Greatest Hits album, Wynton Marsalis's Carnival album. I would love it, and he'd make me copies back then in tapes, and so I would just listen, and John Williams. I remember I was a huge John Williams fan at that point as well too, but it was just a great, it was like a lesson going up there, the trumpet lesson, and then it was a fantastic experience. I'm very grateful. I had someone that took that special interest.
That's really great. So where did you go to school then?
Well, I went to West Texas A&M University in the panhandle of Texas, Canyon, Texas, close to Amarillo. And I went.
Got a performance degree?
No, music education. I thought I was going to be a band director. I really, really loved before I went to college, I saw my first drum corps show, and I saw Starve Indiana, the drum corps, and I was hooked. And I just thought that would be the best job ever, to just do music. I didn't know what else you could do at that point. I'm a little small town Texas girl. I didn't really, internet's not a thing yet. And so for me, my exposures were basically drum corps. I'm from Texas, so football's big, therefore marching band's big, so marching band is huge. And I thought would be the perfect job for me, to be a band director.
And then what? Because our lives they're in parallel, because I did the exact same thing for the exact same reasons. So then when does it switch to performance? Like I don't mean in terms of the degree. Did you get a music ed degree?
I did.
Yeah, I did. So then when did you think, oh, you know what? I'm gonna go further down this other road?
Well, when I was in college, I did a drum corps. I got into Starve Indiana, and then this organization evolved into another group called Brass Theater, where we toured a couple of summers with Canadian Brass. Mm-hmm. I even recorded a CD, and then this show, the final evolution of it was the show called Blast, and I was part of the show in London, and just getting all this exposure to different players, teaching styles, and I just kept getting better. And my school offered me a band grad assistantship to get my master's. So I thought, well, why not? And it just kind of, that year, it just kept getting better. And I never thought when I started I would get my doctorate in trumpet. I couldn't even conceive of what even was. And I just felt like, why not? And for my doctorate, I went to University of North Texas, and that was an amazing experience as well. But it just, to answer your question, is just the experiences I had just kept propelling me forward, just wanting to learn more, perform more.
What an organic path. I mean, it's the opposite of like, well, you go to college because it's after high school, and it's like, well, you get a I mean, it sounds like these things just kind of found you or found your heart, and then you were able to execute them, and then you're, as you just said, you're however you put it, just a girl from a small town in Texas, and you're recording an album with Canadian brass, and you're in Blast in London, and you're suddenly getting a doctorate at a school like UNT. That's crazy. That's like a screenplay.
Yeah, it was. I always felt very fortunate of the opportunities I was given, and that's why it's now as a teacher when students, it's hard for me sometimes to be. I'm very compassionate. Don't get me wrong, but when they're like things are tough, and I'm always kind of, well, I've been where you are, and I had to work for everything I had, and so it's. I think I give them a good perspective, but at the same time, I'm always kind of, no, just work harder. I think I sound like a bad teacher now.
Yeah, but everybody they want this like magic juju, and it's like go into that little room and shut the door and pick up the horn and don't come out.
There aren't any shortcuts for sure.
Right. Yeah, I'm reminded of our former Boston brass colleague, Jose Sabaha. He talks about how when he first started playing in a youth orchestra in Costa Rica where he grew up, that he had to, I think the story was that he had to take 2 different buses that took 2 hours each way to get to and from his youth orchestra rehearsals, and he did that because that's where the music was, and he enjoyed the music, and so it's. Well,
remember his first trumpet had 2 working valves. Like he just dealt with the fact he did everything he could do with 1 and 2.
Oh wow!
And it doesn't mean that if you don't take 2 buses and have a 4-hour round trip, or that if all your valves work from day one, that you have an easy path. Excuse me. Like you said, there's no shortcuts. But when I hear stories like yours or like his or like there's hundreds of them, it just makes you kind of try and. It makes me say, okay, what is the next action that I can take right now to make this problem not go away, but just like to work towards solving it, rather than I'm really good at feeling sorry for myself when I'm not approaching things correctly. So it's all about perspective. So
definitely.
Yeah. So talk to us about, so you saw Star of Indiana when you were a kid and you said, I want to do that. And then you did it. And so what was it like the first day that you were actually a member, or even talk to us about the day you found out that they said, sure, you're a part of us?
Well, as I said, I was from a small town in Texas. We had a really small marching band, not very good, to be honest. And when I got into Star of Indiana, they had just won the world championship. And I came in 92, and my only saving grace was they even told me, we like how you play, but you can't march to save your life. So I had to work. They gave me homework. So I went to the first camp and I made it, but I had to get better as a marcher. So I had one of my friends in the dorm. She had marched Suncoast Sound. Her name was Michelle McGill. We called her Mad Dog because she could march like crazy. But anyways, she taught me. We would go up and down the hallways of my dorm, and she just kind of showed me how to properly march, and and I just got better. But I was almost cut because I couldn't march. Nowadays, I don't know if you've seen shows, but it's amazing what they do. Yeah. There's no way I could have made it, coming in, without the marching skills at that point. But I had to earn it. And so I don't think I knew I was really in until like the summer.
Wow. Right. So you were there with the transition from Star to Brass Theater?
Yes, I was.
So can you talk about because that was from the outside looking in, I was so excited. I thought it was just such a cool development and evolution of the activity, as they like to say, in the activity. So what was that like being on the inside while that transition? Like, how did they tell you, or was there like a rumor in the air and then they just announced it, or what happened there?
It was sudden. It was an announcement, and it was a weird transition because you went from this. We still had this drum corps mentality inside or on stage, away from coming indoors from outdoors. And we had all these traditions and things that we still kept intact. And we still did a lot of marching. And then when Canadian Brass would come in, we would just kind of do this arc. We would just kind of arc up and they would just play. But I didn't realize the opportunities that I was getting. Like in 1995, we played in the Hollywood Bowl, Lincoln Center, Tanglewood, and this is all with Canadian Brass. I had no idea. I was just kind of there learning my show, not realizing that these opportunities are like incredible. So the evolution went further, as you know, after the Canadian Brass years in 1998 they went to Branson to do some shows, and then after that was Blast in 1999.
And so then the transition from Brass Theater to Blast, from your perspective, what was that like? They had sort of hand selected some folks, or like what was that process like? That switch over?
Yeah, I was there in 98 and then 99 when I saw the full evolution, culmination of Blast. And there was some, they basically made everybody audition, even though I had marched 4 years with them. I had to submit a video, audio, but they knew me. But there were some others that weren't able to get in that had been with the group before. And it was a completely different vibe in Blast. There was no more drum corps mentality. That went away.
And so the mentality was then what?
More professional. You had to be, I think we were paid. We hadn't been paid before. For Brass Theater, we got kind of scholarship money that went directly to our school account. But this one, you were getting paid. And then, of course, going to London was a thrill. The first thing the striking thing that I remember thinking that was really sad was we had this core song, When You Wish Upon a Star, that when we, in Blast, we decided that Star of Indiana was no more at that point. It was now something different.
Sure.
So I don't know. If people that march drum corps, they'll understand that that's a huge thing. That's a big thing. But Blast was amazing. It went to another level at that point.
Well, you're pretty uniquely, how many people can say that here's a question. How many people made that transition that you did from Star of Indiana to Brass Theater and from Brass Theater to Blast? Good job, Lance.
Very little. I was one of 4 trumpets that I know of.
Wow.
So, and I think there was hardly anybody else. So, but yeah, there was a few of us.
To have this apprenticeship where you start off in the activity where you're sleeping on gym floors and you're doing these shows night after night after night, and now you transition to this thing where you get to, this is a rough way of saying it, you're the backup band for the Canadian Brass. You get the opportunity to show off a little bit here and there, but you're going to these incredible venues, and then all of a sudden you're kind of launched into this this sort of Riverdance phenomenon kind of vibe where the theatrics are off the charts. That's an incredible apprenticeship that, well, as you've just said, very, 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 very few people will ever have the opportunity to do. Usually you age out in drum corps and then you go on to doing something else. You don't have the opportunity to see this whole thing through to its logical progression.
Right. It was very unique. I have incredible memories, incredible friendships. There's some of them are still my best friends to this day. I still love the activity. And I think it really helped me as a performer, with stage anxiety and all that. Well, a lot of my students have performance anxiety. I think that's kind of across the board in brass or maybe all instrumental. There's just this huge performance anxiety. There's a lot of master classes now for it. There's a lot of initiatives for it. But because I went through that, I feel like I never really experienced that. I never have to take beta blockers or, some of those things. I'm not saying that that's, I think those are valid things that people need to do, and there's no judgment there at all. But I think it really helped me in that sense.
Here's where you and I differ, because I think there's absolutely no reason to take a beta blocker. I think you can find a non-pharmacological solution to this problem. So I'll briefly jump up on my soapbox.
Open up a can of worms there.
That's okay with me. You don't have to comment on it. You don't have to agree with it. I just think there's just no. Here's the one teeny tiny little sliver of a caveat. If you do it once, so that you know physiologically, if it allows you to see or experience physiologically what it would feel like, then you go replicate it and use it through the use of non-pharmaceutical means. Okay, fine. But there's just a bajillion ways you can handle this that have nothing to do with going to get a prescription. So send me letters. I don't care. I'm an old man. I got a gig. Like, whatever. Man, get out of my yard.
Aren't you glad you asked his opinion on that, Rachel? Oh, wait, you didn't. That's right. So
nonetheless.
Meh.
Yes. All right.
So, all right, we're back. So where are we? Podcast.
So how do you help your students deal with it?
A big thing I like to do, if we're talking about it, I do, if it gets problematic, I do recommend that they look into some of these beta blockers. But before that, I do try some initiatives, and that is trying to replicate, the symptoms that they get, for instance, like being out of breath, the heartbeat rate, have them do jumping jacks or run, come back and try to do a slow passage, so they learn how, or they get confident that if they do get out of breath or the heart starts beating too fast, that they've practiced that way before. Mm-hmm. And it just, the preparation, I think, helps the anxiety a little bit. So, of course, I've the visualization, I think I've seen that work with some students where I have them visualize
like
them going through
stuff.
Yeah. And I've really had to do a lot of reading and thinking about some of this stuff, because I'm telling you, a lot of students really have issues with this. They sound fantastic in lessons or in the practice rooms, and they get on stage and I've seen them collapse.
Sure.
And
classical musicians, we get all wrapped around the axle, and it's like everything is everything needs to be perfect. And also, oh, by the way, even the best schools of music, the amount of performing that you're actually required to do for a performance degree is pathetic. I mean, it's just kind of, it's like getting a public speaking degree, and you really have to give like 2 big public speaking engagements in your 4-year degree. It's kind of, and I always encourage my students to create their own performances. And there's a reason why the 3 of us wouldn't be nervous performing if you told us that we had to perform somewhere in 10 minutes, with the exception of the fact that you're coming off a vacation, and you said that you sounded like hot garbage last night, which I bet you sounded better than you said you would. You said you did, but still, no. But you wouldn't, and the reason is just because we've all been there so many times, right? I mean, that's it. There's no secret. There's no shortcut, right? I mean, the first time I spoke to an audience on the mic at a brass quintet concert, and it actually went well. I was the senior patrol leader of my Boy Scout troop, so I addressed a whole lot of rooms full of people then. But the point is, it just like it happened and it was fine, but then it gets better over years. And so the issue is just doing. Right. But classical music, like you need to hide until your Hummel is perfect. And then you can share it with us, and we will clap at the right time, and then we can go home. And if it's not perfect, shame on you, this is the inner narrative, right? It's like shame on you, or shame on your teacher, or shame on somebody. So
I'm going to pick at some of what you're talking about. No question that reps are a huge help, but the environment. We have this environment in which you have to audition to get into the school, and if you don't do well, you're not going to get into the school. Then we're going to make you do playing tests over and over and take auditions to get into the ensembles and judge you at the end of each semester with a jury. And then your whole career is based on if you miss a note next, like you're out the door. So there is a lot of pressure just based on the ecosystem. And then if we're not systematic about the fact that there's a cognitive, there's a mental aspect to it, and then there's a physiological aspect to it, and those 2 things interact and impact one another, but the solutions for the 2 of them are very different. So if you this is where I get on the old man soapbox thing. Like if all you do is take this pill and we're going to eliminate one of those things, you're running the risk of having to rely on those for the rest of your career. If you don't get in there and sort this thing out and figure out what are the cognitive reasons and what are the behaviors that are coming out of that, and then how do I prepare efficiently to come out the other side, you might be setting yourself up for disaster. Man.
Well, I think trumpet players are particularly neurotic in the sense that they'll do anything.
And that's the show, ladies and gentlemen.
We're gonna take that. Will Houchin, our producer, please, can you take that quote and can you put that at the very beginning? We never put a quote at the beginning. I want just that and then the intro music. So that's perfect. So
well, let me explain a little bit.
French horn players all over the planet are going, sweet.
We don't want context. Let us run with our uninformed narrative, please. So yeah, it's 2018. I think that's what you're supposed to do. So yeah. Anyway, okay, fine. You can provide context.
Well, trumpet players are neurotic in the fact that trumpet players will do anything not to miss a note. They'll manipulate. They'll sacrifice anything just to not miss a note because the trumpet's bell front and all trumpet players are also glory hounds. But at the same time, if you mess up, everyone hears you because of that bell front. So that's why they manipulate and do everything they can. You never can hide. Unlike low brass players that can kind of rumble back there, but high brass players.
We gotta
I'm kidding. I kid.
No, fair enough. If we get
tuba is largely graded on enthusiasm. So yeah, it's like, I mean, it helps if you're clean a little bit, but if you just come out swinging, then people will be like, you are amazing. And I've just learned to just say, thank you. Yeah. Rather than actually, if you'd been closer. Yeah. And I just say, yeah, I just kind of give them the, you're right nod. Thank you for noticing. Yep. And then we'll just move right on. So
yeah.
Yep. No, yeah, there you go.
You drop glory quotes like all trumpet players are glory hounds. You get to make fun of us as well. That's okay.
Yep, there is
that.
The
euphonium player.
I speak the truth.
I also can't stand trumpet players who have self-awareness. So yeah, you're not coming back on this program. So yeah, I can tell you that because it's just you're more than an admirable foe. So yeah, I'm not equipped for this. Oh goodness gracious! So you are taking a trip to Europe here pretty soon. Why don't you tell us where you're going and who you're going with?
Right. In a few weeks, Seraph Brass, we're going to go do 3 performances at Lieksa Brass Week in Finland. And at this, we're going to do something that's a little bit different. We have a sextet rather than a brass quintet, 3 trumpets, and then the normal quintet, 1 French horn, trombone, tuba. And it's something that we started and we just rehearsed 2 weeks ago in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And, we did the BAME, of course, but we have some new works that we commissioned or got people to write for us that utilizes 2 trumpets, a flugelhorn, that I think work really well. I'm kind of excited to showcase this. Seraph Brass, we've kind of had a rotating trumpet, personnel. But I think now we have the full time, which is Mary Bowden is the leader of the group, and she's also the first trumpet. And then you have myself, and then Jean Lawrence. We're all the other 2 full time trumpet players in this. And sometimes we'll do a quintet, sometimes we'll do a sextet moving forward. But in Finland, we'll do the sextet version. So we'll see how it goes.
First of all, awesome. I'm very excited that somebody is breaking the quintet in another interesting way. And so why and how?
Okay. Well, the why is it was very difficult to as you know, to get a group with busy calendars to meet up for shows. And as the group got more busy, got more work, it's difficult. I can't do all the work at the quintet because I have a job, so a full-time job teaching, and it really helps me to have someone else that can fill in. And Jean feels the same way, and Mary's always there. She'll always be the trumpet player that will always be there, but it works best for me so that I can have a full-time job and still do the quintet. So that was why. And
it
then
sounds like you answered this, but let me just put the dots closer together. So all three of you are not responsible for both books. Two of you are responsible for splitting the second book and Mary takes the first book? Or how does that, like, how do you not each have to know two books?
Well, Mary takes mostly, I would say 80% of the time for the first book. And then, but then sometimes we have we have to take some of the first book too, which obviously we love too. Sure. And Gene and I have to learn the main book, and then also, some of us will have to learn the sextet stuff, the flugelhorn part.
I see.
So I know we just started this. Well, I'll let you know how it goes in a year or two, but so far so good. I haven't. It's a lot of music, but I think ultimately I'm excited to see where this goes.
Me too. Good for you pushing it in a new direction too.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Well, I think with chamber music, it's hard to get everybody's calendars in line to do the work that needs to be done, especially if you have full-time jobs. So as I said, maybe we'll see how this goes, but it's been working out so far. So
that's awesome.
It's kind of that is awesome. It's kind of the chicken and the egg type situation, but chicken or the egg, not both. That if you're Boston Brass and there's an audition for one of the seats, then it's like if you win the audition, then you are in Boston Brass and you can tailor a job around it. But until, like for younger groups coming up, until you are making a full-time living, then it's really hard to get people to prioritize the quintet like 100% of the time. And then, as I used to tell people, if everybody in Boston Brass just said that they couldn't do 3 shows a year, then that's like 15 gigs that we're turning down, which is a lot of money. So it's like, it's kind of hard once, to get up to that. And then also once you're at the level that Seraph is, then the players all tend to have other people who want your time for playing and teaching and whatnot. And so I think it's cool that you guys are coming up with a creative solution to it as well. So yeah, there's no one way to do things, right? A lot of times we all kind of act like there is, and then when it doesn't work out, we just say, well, it didn't work out, which is kind of the opposite of your entire upbringing. And then also, I think there's a reason why Seraph has been able to succeed so much because, and oh, by the way, you all play your asses off individually and together as a group, but that's just the beginning of being a successful, commercially viable chamber ensemble.
Yeah. And plus we all like each other. It's been a lot of fun. And I do want to do a little plug. We're going to also showcase the sextet next summer at the International Trumpet Guild conference in Miami. So we'll have a full year to get comfortable with the sextet a bit more by then. So if you're around Miami in next July, come check us out.
Excellent.
Who's doing most of the arrangements for the sextet?
His name is Jeff Luke. He's in the Utah Symphony, and he does great work. He did all the sextet stuff, and so the group has commissioned some other composers too, that were on the last CD. So it's some new stuff, and
so how?
I guess.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, that was pretty much it. I guess the new thing that we've been doing is we've been trying to do our own arranging as well. People in the group, we've Gretchen Renshaw, the tuba player in the group, is doing quite a bit of arranging right now for us. So, and we've all kind of taken it upon us. We've all arranged our own solo features. So we'll see how that goes.
How busy is the band?
Right now, we've got the year of 2018, 2019. We're working on 2019 right now. But it's pretty busy at this point.
Are you going on every month, or you try longer tours or less frequently, or kind of a bunch of runouts, or some of both, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I think once or twice a month as it is. It's pretty much right now for next year.
And then, go ahead.
Oh, no, that was
Are you sponsored by one of the companies?
We are not.
Would you each play different equipment?
Yes, at this point, yeah.
So there's
what we do.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
But we all have our we're getting a bit more organized in that we all have our own duties, and we are all kind of contributing time and work to the group and to get work. And, as I said, arranging music. It's been kind of a team effort going forward at this point. It's been really cool.
Yeah, it's hard if you don't do that, it makes it really difficult. Especially makes it really difficult for the 1 or 2 or 3 people that are doing all the stuff. We found it, I think, in our experience, it worked the best when the work was distributed equally. Or as equally as possible. Jeff Connor always worked 10 times harder than the rest of us because he was the sales guy and he was on the phone all the time.
He's just so good at working. I didn't want to deprive him of what he was so good at. It's like, I could do this, Jeff, but you're just so good at it. Why don't you put that on your plate?
That's right. I hope those guys don't listen. We said nice things about both Jeff and Jose on this episode. So
yeah, I think so. We're gonna get emails or text messages from dear friends like, which one of you or both of you are dying, and what are you dying from? And it's like, do I need to fly to DC now to say my goodbyes, or do I have a few months? Yeah. Anyway,
that's pretty.
We try not to say nice things about trumpet players because then they want to spend time with you, and that usually is not really in anybody's best interest. So, yeah, I'm busy. I have to practice my enthusiasm, my bass clef enthusiasm. So, yeah. So,
beta blockers. That's my advice.
And thanks, Ron. Yeah, good. Yeah, keep picking that scab if you keep picking at it. There you go. So we are before this is done, we got to talk about your new full-time gig, which is a homecoming for you on a couple of fronts, and it's pretty excited. So where are you headed?
Well, I just accepted a position as assistant professor of trumpet at the University of North Texas.
Look at you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a dream. It's a dream come true. Obviously, it's my alma mater. I'm a Texas native. My family is still all in Texas, and of course, the school. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, music schools in the country for many reasons. And excited to be part of the, whatever's to come forward. The innovations that we'll do. I think music education has to change, and I hope University of North Texas can forge the way on that, because, as you know, we're still teaching music ed the way we did 100 years ago, and it's not doing very well as of late with all the cuts. So, and I think students now, not to get on my little
shove Lance off of there and step right up,
please.
Well, I think the students just don't seem to be as prepared as they could be. And I think it's due to the curriculum. I think we need to do some changes there. But I'm preaching to the choir. So this is something that's been talked about in the music education circles. But anyways, Music North Texas is totally geared to be a leader in that sense. And I'm really excited to be part of that.
Yeah, you've got a happening... There's the music entrepreneurship division down there is very, very active and doing some cool stuff. We've got, David Childs is about to take over teaching euphonium, which we're super excited about. Brian Bowman was there for a long time, and this is going to be a fascinating and exciting time. And then Alan Baylock, right? Is Alan down there full time now, Andrew? Do you know?
Sure is.
Yeah,
he sure is. Yep.
We've got some dear friends down there. We're rooting for you like crazy for sure.
Yeah, I put UNT on. There is a depressingly short list of schools of music that I think are doing a good job of being forward-thinking, not just in words but also in actions. And UNT is absolutely on that list, which is great. So, and they keep hiring people like you who get it, and Alan Baylock who gets it, and and David Childs who gets it, and there's good stuff happening.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that Caleb Houchin will be the other trumpet professor coming in with me.
Yeah, that's amazing that they hired both of you. I mean, that's just, case in point.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm really excited to work with him, as well as John Holt, who's already there.
Mm-hmm.
So there'll be 3 major professors in the trumpet studio in the classical side. So we have 4 teaching fellows, doctoral students, and right now we have 80 students, which... When I was at North Texas, we had 110, so we're a little low. So I hope to get that number back up in the triple digits. I know we're suffering.
That's what you call a target of opportunity.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think that we probably should segue here into Jens. You're such a thoughtful person. he's a trumpet player in the Anaheim area, I believe, or L.A. or somewhere in Southern California.
Okay.
He's Canadian. And he's been undergoing some pretty serious chop problems. We've been hosting this podcast now for 4 years, so it predates this podcast. So, can you by any chance? I pray that you're going to tell him to take beta blockers. This is teed up for you. But what would you, just so that you can and I could actually mute Lance because I got the controls here, so you could say that, and then I'll just mute Lance so that you can keep talking. But what advice would you give our dear friend Jens Lindemann in his time of need?
Well, I definitely want to send my thoughts and prayers because that's kind of the thing to do right now.
Sounds so genuine, man. That's awesome.
But
you're making a nice person do this, Andrew. I feel a little bit bad, but only a little.
You'd think I'd feel bad, but I don't.
I recently had Jens Lindemann. I was fortunate enough to have him as our guest artist at a trumpet festival of the Southeast that I hosted last January. And at that festival, I mentioned that Jens was definitely top 3 in the world right now in terms of the trumpet player, top 3. And I think to get to that top 1, I think it's not so much his chops, but his articulation. I don't know if it was the Canadian accent or something, but
by way of Germany.
His pitch goes up at the end of every phrase.
I think that's what it is. I think you nailed it on the head right there. But,
so, all right, I got to ask. So the top 3, you're a trumpet player, so you have to put yourself in there. So who's the third?
Just 2.
I wouldn't dare to be. I'm not in that company, but I would put Wynton Marsalis and Alan Vizzuti.
Heard of him?
Yeah,
and I know Rex Richardson's up there too.
Oh, thanks, Doug. I dig it. Good picture. As always, sweetie, Rachel, back on wherever you are. I dig what you cats are doing.
But I think the longer he teaches in America, I think the articulation issues will clear up and he'll get up there.
That's what everyone in 2018. That's what everyone needs to just get their head right. Is just move to America. Yeah, it's it's a totally calm and soothing place these days. So
it won't get any better. It'll just numb you out.
Come here to get your head straight. Yep. So
there you go.
We are the shining light on the hill. Let me tell you. So anyway, before
you're dark today.
Before I get a lot of emails, let me before I get more emails, let me thank you profusely for your time today, and you're going to love Liexa. That was one of both Lance and my favorite trips with Boston Brass. So, and Boston Brass has since been back since we left, but so they've been a couple of times. But yeah, what a great thing, and it's so cool how big of a deal it is, and the caliber of people that they get to perform there, and Lance and I. But and it's in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it's just this small town, and But yeah, it was Enrique Crespo was there. We got to see him. It's just there was. It's great. It's really in Ben Pierce, and any time that you're there, any year, there's like a crazy lineup of people over the few days you're passing through. So I think you're going to love it. So, and Lance, is there anything else with Rachel before we have her hang out for the bonus episode?
No.
Okay.
I think his beta blockers are kicking in. So yep. So now he's nice and calm. So yeah,
sorry.
So Rachel, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We really appreciate it.
Keep up the good work.
And best of luck to you. But at UNT, I don't think you're going to need it. And yeah, we're already in like slap happy bonus episode material, and we're not even there yet. So, and now it sounds like you're taking a bong hit. What are you doing? This is we've gone completely off the rails here. So, Rachel, thank you so much. And that is going to do it for another episode of the Brass Junkies. You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to hear the bonus episode featuring today's guest, please visit patreon.com/thebrassjunkies to learn how you can support the show and instantly access all bonus materials, as well as gain access to a special patron-only Facebook group. The Brass Junkies is produced by the amazing, wonderful, and truly inspirational Will Houchin. The theme music was composed by Fernando Dedos and performed by Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. We are at Pray for Jens on Twitter and Instagram and have a Facebook page at facebook.com/prayforjens. You can find out more about the Brass Junkies and all the other Pedal Note Media podcasts at pedalnotemedia.com. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.